Hey guys, Coach Dan here. In today's video, we're going to go through my second lower body day of the week. This is a Friday session for me. It starts with some decent deadlifts, so that should be good. So I'll go through that when we get out there and go through what my goals are for that today. And yeah, so we'll take you through. And again, keep in mind that all these things that I do are not a blueprint straight away for anyone else to do. It's just that this is what I've learned to do over the course of time. So for you, again, take the principles that I might apply for sure, but I would never take it as a complete blueprint just to kind of copy and paste into everyone's routine. So as we go through what I've chosen, I'll tell you why I've chosen it, how I've gotten to that, how many sets, all these kinds of things, and then you can take that to your own training and go, okay, well, you know, I need to do X amount of sets or reps or this exercise selection because of X, Y, Z reason, and then that would make the most sense to me. Too often people just want to copy what other people have done, but not realizing that they have their own experience, they have their own what's worked for them over the course of time. So this is just about giving you principles, and then you can take those principles and apply them to everything in your training, not just go, yeah, I'll copy and paste what this person does. It also helps when you have these principles in mind to keep your bullshit detector out there, because there'll be people out there who might try to sell you, this is the best program, this is what you must do. And when you have good principles behind you, you kind of know, well, actually, that's potentially not the best because of the XYZ principle. So just keep that in mind. You know, never copy and paste exactly what someone else does. Just, you know, potentially learn what it is that they do well, take those lessons, and then apply them to your own training. So we'll get out there in a couple of minutes, start with some stiff leg deadlifts, and then yeah, I'll show you the rest of what we got going for today. See you out there. All right, away we go. Stiff legged deadlifts, first exercise. So I use the deadlift to mostly target hamstrings. Glutes will get in the game as well, but my technique will be such that I'm trying to make the hamstrings the limiting factor. So I'll show you how we use specific technique for that versus some versions of deadlift where you might be able to lift a fair amount more weight, but it might be less on the hamstrings, use your legs a little bit more. So for me, set the feet about hip width apart. I've got these straps here just to help for grip, but you may or may not need that. Hands will line up directly outside the level of the shin. Now, for me, it's now just about locking back on nice and tight. You can see our hips are pretty high. Feel a good stretch in the hamstring. And again, that's where I want to feel my tension, hamstrings. So butt goes back, feel that big stretch. Gentle tap, locking in, feeling sensations in the hamstrings the whole time. All right, let's start to build it up. So rep range for this for me today is going to be 5 to 10. I'm probably shooting for 10. Warm-up wise, I don't really have specifics. I just kind of do a few sets, build up to the weight, do a set somewhat close to the weight that I'm going to hit for my heavy sets. So I'm going for 10 at 170, so I might do my last set at 160. Just 1 or 2 reps just to feel that weight, so it doesn't feel heavy. So getting heavier now, so time to start bracing real tight as well. So each rep, take a big breath, brace. Okay, so as we get closer and closer to the weight, I'm doing fewer and fewer reps just to waste less and less energy. So this will be 160, last warm up. Maybe 1 or 2 reps here. I use a belt here as well, so the belt's just helpful for bracing. So goals for deadlift today, again, feel that tension even when the weight gets heavy, so really trying to place it on my hamstrings and not just lift the weight. So start here, this will be my last warm up. Alright, feels good. Couple of minutes. Hit the first working set. Go time for set number 1. So goal for this set is 100 years in the future. And they'll see this video and they'll consider it art. That's the goal here. So technique really good, feel the hamstrings. Let's go. I think that was 9. Not too bad. Maybe a bit of poopy in the pants. I'll ignore that till later. Couple sets to go. Okay, set number 2. 5 to 10 reps, somewhere in there. So I quite like deadlifts, but there's certainly some downsides. They're heavy, they're tiring, and you might be thinking, just stop being a wuss. But that fatigue or that weight kind of accumulates over time. It's just something to keep in mind. I do them because I love them, and they are effective, but just something to keep in mind, the fatigue cost. Okay, here we go. Only 1 set to go. Only 1.
fart slash poopy there. That's a PB. Okay, last set. So, for the most part, I wouldn't do deadlifts more than 10 reps, just because of the fatigue that can cause the back. So, usually for me, 5 to 10, maybe anywhere between 4 to 8 is still good. Rest breaks probably minimum of 2 minutes because they are so fatiguing overall. So for me, 5 to 10, 2 minutes rest is pretty good. Last set. Same cues as we get tired here. Place all the tension on the hamstrings. Let's finish strong. Done. Happy with that. Onto some split squats now. No poopy in the pants. That's nice. Alright, next exercise on the agenda. Front foot elevated Smith split squat. So, small step. Bar on the shoulders. I like to step back gently, place the top of my back foot on the ground, drive up through the front leg. So for me, doing it this way just takes away any push from that back leg. Makes me feel pretty weak, but very targeted for that leg that's working. So that front leg, what we're after is that the hip pretty much gets as flexed as possible, so that's like knee to the chest, and that'll stretch the glute out nicely. Yeah, so doing it this way might require a significantly lower load, but might make it that significantly more effective. So in my mind, that's a pretty good thing, which is essentially you get a better stimulus for less stress on the body. So people often think the weight is completely associated with how effective it is. It's less about that and making sure that we're getting the stimulus where it belongs and not driving off the back leg or changing technique. When I get to the end of these sets, I want to make sure what I'm targeting is the big worker. So again, stepping back, top of the back foot on the ground, driving to the front leg, and again, trying to place as much tension on that front glute as possible with that idea of that mind to muscle connection. Focus on what we want working. So we'll get some quad activation here as well. But again, for me, I'm using this mostly as a glute exercise. You could use it as a quad exercise. So I'm going to make the technique such that I feel that. All right, take 1 to 2 minutes break here and then we'll be into it. 2 sets. All right, I think this angle will give you a better idea, especially what's going on with that back foot. So I like about 8 to 12 reps here, and I do take a break between legs. So don't call me a sook or a wuss or anything. I'm pretty precious. All right, left leg start, because that's usually the weaker one. Away we go. That's nice. So just take the time, get the heart rate down a bit, make it such that it's not going to limit me, and then go again. So right in the arse I want to feel this. And again, I feel quads often on movements like this, so that's cool. The next day though, I often feel soreness in the glutes, so that gives me a good idea. Okay, right leg. Nothing wrong with that, that's nice. So only 2 sets total there. That's one down. So only 2 sets here because with a lot of the other work I do, there's some glute action in it. So I often don't have to do heaps of direct work because it can come from the indirect stuff like squats, those stiff-legged deadlifts. So that's something I've done more recently, is also include the indirect work. So if I use this as a glute exercise and I bias it as much towards the glutes as possible, it doesn't mean the quads don't work at all, but maybe they won't work as hard on something like a leg press, leg extension, etc. So I'll count it as half a set towards the quads. Maybe not. That's probably not a perfect way to do it, but that's just the process I follow. That way, when I accumulate at the end of the week, I add up that's a half set for quads, full set for glutes, and I can count and track my volume that way. So the same would be for any of the upper body stuff. You got like a pull up or a pull down. That is mainly targeted for me at the back muscle, but the biceps have to work, so they count as half a set there. So I like this method just to track how much work I'm doing each week. Okay, little break, 1 set to go. So continue on from before. Volume can be something that can affect muscle growth and performance and stuff like that. So it's not that more is always better, and that's what some people would take it as. It always needs to be more. But it's definitely something to play around with. Like if you're doing low volumes, under 8 sets, under 10 sets or something like that, and you feel like you're not getting the best progress or your progress is halted, you could try increasing 20% volume. This is something I've done with a lot of my upper body muscles. Don't have to do it so much with my lower body stuff. That's that progresses a little bit more linearly. The upper body stuff, I'm now experimenting with 20% higher volume than I was doing maybe 10 weeks ago. And then it's all about just playing your own experiment. So did that have a positive effect? Did it have a negative effect? Do you have little nigglies that you didn't have before, niggly injuries, or does it feel okay? Is the progress smoother? If you're never sore, never tired, and you're doing 8 sets, still making progress, you can just continue on, or alternatively, you can still try a little bit higher volume and see if that leads to better outcomes, but it's all just about monitoring your own experiment. All right, here we go, last set. I think we got 9 on that first one, so see if I can get into that ballpark, but again, we're more thinking about the stimulus we're trying to provide, so that's where my attention is, and whatever reps I get, that's cool as well. That's 8. Match that on this other side. Okay. Last set, get the move on after this. This is pretty tough, this workout. Going from deadlifts into this is pretty challenging. There we go. Again, pay attention, what we want work, reset. Get my attention on my glute, right side. Alright, good stuff. So, for that one, again, elevate front foot such that when you get to the bottom of the lunge, split squat, whatever you want to call it, your knees pretty close to your chest. You set the bench pretty much underneath where this bar is, but again, play around with it, see what feels good for you. If we can get into a stage where the knee doesn't bend as much, the hip bends a lot more, we can make it a little bit more gluteal versus quaddy. And again, the quads, they have to work. That's what straightens your knee. But if we want to emphasize less flexion out of the knee, get the setup such that less flexion out of the knee, as much hip flexion as possible, and really focus on the glutes. All right, belt squat up next. All right, next on the agenda, belt squat. 10 to 15 reps. Here we go. So, not all gyms will have a belt squat, but I think they should. Very effective for targeting your legs without your back having a copper bar on it, which is pretty worthwhile. So another good thing is that you can set up such that you can place your feet where it feels good for you. Lean forward, lean back. So you can find the best stance because the machine kind of keeps you still. So that's a big advantage. Free weight squats, you kind of have to be balanced. Here, you choose what feels best. That's set 1. I took a couple of sets to work up to this, and I'm doing 3 total, so 2 to go. So yeah, my foot position, pretty narrow, toes out a little bit, but you can find what feels good for you. Theoretically, a wider toe position might move your adductors a bit more in your groin, inner thigh area, but again, find what feels best for you and go with that. So as far as technique goes for me, I put 2 little steps on here just because the range on this one finishes a little bit early for my short stumpy legs. The other thing I do is I like to stay nice and upright, which again can make it very quaddy, which is what I'm using it for. But again, if you wanted to make it more glutey, you could lean forward. This is just what I find to work best for me. So this would be set 2. As always, place the tension where it belongs. Think about your quads or whatever you're trying to target. The pants up is optional, but adds 10 to 20% performance. I call it a diaper. Here we go. So that's me falling out of my rep range of 10 to 15, so I'm going to pull some weight off for the last set so I can get the reps back up. Final set. Okay, last set. Pulled some weight off here, so we got 65 per side, 10 to 15 again. Okay, that's pretty painful, but done. On to hamstrings. Okay, seated hamstring curl. Nothing too hectic to report here. When we go to the top here, I would put the adjustment all the way to the top so you get a nice big stretch in the hamstrings. Other than that, I use about a 10 to 15 rep range. Could go lower, could go higher, but that feels pretty good for me. I'll do 3 sets. Let's go. So something somewhat unique I do with that one is when I can no longer get it all the way to the bottom, I'll still continue on reps till I can go about halfway. Because what you'll find with a movement like this is that you're weaker in the bottom half, but you can still get a little bit more through that top half. So I go full range until I can no longer do full range anymore, and then I'll set myself a limit to finish off to. So if it's halfway, just something where you can measure and know when it's done. So full range, hitting the bottom of the machine. When you can't get to that anymore, set yourself a marker halfway-ish, try as hard as you can, get it to that. And then when you are finished with that half rep, the set's done. And you can record both numbers. So that was 12 or 13 reps. So the amount of sets that I do per exercise is obviously different, and it's different per muscle group as well. But the thing to keep in mind is why this is 3 sets is because that's how much I need to get my hamstring volume up to where that seems to be worthwhile for me. So I've done 3 on a deadlift today, 2 on a split squat, 3 on the belt squat. Now we're over to here for 3 just to accumulate enough volume in the hamstrings. There's only so many deadlifts you can do before you just gas. So this can accumulate that extra volume without tiring me out too much, and then just get me to that volume that's required for this muscle group. So set 2. All right, reps are getting low, so reduction in weight about 10 to 20% will get us back into our rep range. 1 set to go. Set, reduction in weight. See if we can't get back to that 10 to 15 rep range. Might have bitched it a bit there. Will be better next time. Calves and abs to finish. Alright, back on the belt squat. Calf raises now. Oh. Okay. Mainly calf exercise, so 5 sets. Usually reduce the rest time here to a minute. So So that was 20. I usually use calf raises in 10 to 20 rep range. Belt squat's good because it unloads your back, but you could do the same thing on a leg press as well. Set 2. So something that can happen on any calf raise is that your foot can slide off the back. So just readjust as you go. You should have the ball of your big toe at least on there. Slipping off. Shuffle back on and again.
Okay, so that's the workout, guys. That's my second lower body session of the week. So good session, felt good about that. The battery ran out for the last part of the workout, but you would have seen some of the belt squat calf raises. Did 5 sets of those and a abdominal exercise, so cable crunch, 5 sets of those. So that's how it finished off. Sometimes I like to do that as a superset, so go straight from one to the other, save a little bit of time. Not always possible in a commercial gym, but when you can sort it out that way, it's a good time saver. But all in all, pretty happy with that. So I come back and I do that each week, trying to progress that little bit more each time. So that's the goal for that workout, and that sums it up. So from me, that's me signing off. Remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. Coach Dan, signing off. See you next time.